Welcome everybody. So yesterday, excuse me, yesterday we talked about distraction, about a massive distraction that they launched on me, and I want to get into the trigger event of how they kicked it off. Also, although on a, if you like, a microcosmic level, this is what they did to me, I believe it's valid because I believe they're about to launch a mass deception on the whole world, possibly. Just as a side note, today it's a weekend, so I'm not working, but I'm in a place called Smilog Woods in Wales, and this is the site of Wales's Roswell, if you like. In 2016, a UFO crashed just here. They chopped down all the trees where the crash site was. And if anyone wants to look into that, if you go on YouTube and type in the Penturk incident, you'll see a number of videos. I believe there's a woman called Cassie Clark that runs a lot of information about that. So, but it's interesting because from where I work, I can see these woods. You know, every day I look at them. It's just a little side note, and it's a perfect setting for the story that I'm about to tell you. So, fast forward after the event we talked about the other day, a few years, and me and my wife at the time, and my eldest daughter, who was only 3 months old, were coming back from hospital. And it was about a 20-minute journey from the hospital back to my house. And it was a quiet day, and we were going through a small village on the way back. It's about halfway between the 2 points, called Aino, the place is called. And so as we were driving through there, I was sitting in the back of the car with my daughter. My wife was driving, and she called my attention to a disc that had come down, like in front of the car. It was flying parallel to the car, just above it. It looked like your absolute stereotypical flying saucer. It looked like a shield, you know, on its side, upside down, above the car. It seemed to follow us, or follow us from the front, if you like, for about a minute. We were starting to panic. We didn't really know what to do. My wife had never seen a UFO before she met me anyway. And next thing you know, it blinked out. And we felt weird. It was strange, like there should have been other people on the road. There wasn't. We felt as if something had happened. And when we got home, we realised that we'd lost 40 minutes or so, at least 40 minutes of time. A journey that should take 20, 25 minutes tops had taken us about an hour and 15 minutes or so. We hadn't seen any traffic, like I said, so the whole thing was a bit perplexing. So that night, we had friends round, and we started, you know, we were telling people about it and stuff like that. We were getting different responses from people, everything from laughing to being, you know, very interested. None of those friends that were there knew about my other stuff, to be fair. And it was only mainly because my wife was involved that we started recounting the story to friends and stuff. Interestingly, the next day, when I mentioned it to her about, you know, just brought it up in conversation again, she had forgotten that it happened at all. And I had to kind of jog her memory into the fact that it had happened, which I found really strange, you know. And it was like, as time went on, like I had to remind her a number of times about it. And eventually she just, you know, she wasn't interested at all, and she just wanted to forget all about it. Now for me, it I knew something had happened, something different, something different to like the previous contacts, previous abductions. So anyway, one night, it was about 3 nights after the event, I went to bed and I had a dream, but it was a dream that felt unlike normal dreams. It proper felt like I was remembering a previous event that had happened, and I was reliving it. Now, in the dream, we'll say, I remembered being taken aboard the craft, and in this craft, there were 3 people stood there, and they were your absolute stereotypical, what people like often refer to as like the Nordics or the Palladians. They were wearing blue jumpsuits. Oh, there's 2 men and 1 woman, which were like very handsome, beautiful people, perfect physiques, perfect faces, haircuts, and all that kind of stuff. They were actually kind of like hard to look at. So there was a guy in the middle of the trio who stood opposite me when I came to. He looked a lot like me. I don't mean I'm good looking. I mean he was like a beautiful version of me. He was you could see the similarity, but he was a much nicer finish. Like I say, he had everything about him was kind of perfect and handsome and all that kind of stuff. But there was definitely we were similar looking sort of thing. And he told me that he was me. He told me that that we were each other. That time wasn't as I imagined, and that basically I was him on a mission on Earth to prepare people for extraterrestrial contact. Yeah, I know. But at the time, I didn't know any better, and of course, I found myself in that situation, like on board a craft, talking to people that seemed to be really nice. Love, I could feel like this love and bliss, like coming off them, all that kind of stuff, all the classic stuff that people talk about when they have interactions with these so-called Palladians. When I looked around, my wife was stood next to me, but she was comatose, even though she was stood up. She had her eyes closed and she was just looking, like her head was kind of slumped down on her chest. And my eldest daughter, she was in the car seat. That she had been in the car, but it was on the floor next to my wife. They were off to my left. So when I looked around the craft, which I didn't do a lot, but I could see it in my periphery, kind of thing, and it looked again like an absolute classic. I could see the rounded band windows like behind them, and control systems that looked like they could have come out of any sci-fi film. It wasn't particularly light in there. It was almost as if the only light really was the light coming in through the windows. It didn't have that same sort of diffused light that you see with the grey aliens, whatever the ships that they're using are. It was a very different experience, sort of thing. It had a much more kind of organic, almost like human feel to it. So they basically said to me that I had no choice other than to get involved in this program with them, because I actually was an extraterrestrial living in a human body here, and that I obviously had only come here for this one reason, for a mission. Now, at the time, it made sense. Yeah, I know. But it made sense to me because of all the other things that I'd been going through, and this feeling that I'd had in my soul that I had a mission to do here, and that there was a reason why I was different to other people, and a reason why I was getting taken on board the ships all my life as well. So I believed them, hook, line, and sinker. I started to change deeply, like here. I became a vegetarian overnight. I lost kind of 6 stone. I think I went from like 16 stone to 10 stone over about 6 months. I people noticed that I changed. You know, like up until that point, I'd managed to kind of, let's say, play the role of a fairly normal person, but that was going out the window. The paranormal activity that happened around the house was insane. You know, teleportations of items and bangings and ghostly activity and lights going on and off and stuff happening over the baby comm for my daughter, like as if someone was in her room. I was constantly running up there to make sure she was alone, which she always was when I went in there. This usual stuff. We had multiple sleep paralysis happening in the house, where 2 people would be in separate rooms and both experience sleep paralysis at the same time, with that sense of presence as if someone was stood over their heads and all that kind of stuff. I contacted a UFO group in Oxford. They were interesting. That's another story about them, really. I showed them a video of a UFO that I took the other day, and they accidentally wiped it when I took it over there to show them. They watched it once, and then they recorded over it by accident. And then one of them came to my house, and he said that there was a massive vortex in my house. He also swung a crystal pendulum over my head and said that he'd never seen anyone's head chakra so open, and he said that all sorts of things must be happening to me and all this kind of stuff. Which, like I say, on one level it's true, that stuff was happening to me, but what I'm telling you is that it was deception. Now, one of the main things they were trying to get me to do was they wanted me to start arranging contact with other people. I had a social circle that was building, and they wanted me to start bringing those people out to the woods and using various techniques to try and have face-to-face contact with them. And they said that was a part of the program of how we were going to wake humanity up to its, interstellar existence, and the fact that the universe was full of life and all this other really lovely stuff, stuff that I really wish was true, and I wanted it to be true so badly that I believed them. I never questioned them at first. So we'll go on in the future to talk about how that played out. But I believe that on a mass scale, there's a chance that this is going to be around the world. Like you can see the sort of foreshadowing of it happening now, like with the way that the US Congress is talking, and the whistleblowers that don't get into trouble, even though you should get into trouble for talking about things when you're in the military if you sign the Official Secrets Act and all the rest of it. But they don't, and it's obviously part of a narrative that is actually being promoted. I think Steven Spielberg's got a film out this year. It's all called Disclosure, and they're now saying that Trump's going to, bring it up and all this kind of stuff, all this kind of great stuff. That's going to get us all to believe that there's aliens, and that the aliens are on their way, or that they're here, and all the rest of it. So I think it's very important that we talk about this and that we get it out there, that it's a lie. It's coming from our governments. In normal times, we're aware that our governments basically are liars at the very best. At the very worst, got something else. But yeah. So we should be very careful about what they're going to present us with, and it's going to be something very attractive. I don't think they're going to use fear to convince us that these guys are here. I think they're going to use something very alluring, like a really lovely narrative that's going to make it very easy for people to believe and want it to be true. We've got to be careful. There definitely are non-humans involved in this control system, and I personally haven't got anything against them, but we've got to be careful. Their time is up, they know it, and they are pulling all the strings and pulling all the tricks out of the hat to get us to go along with where they want to take us. Where they want to take us, it's not in our best interests. So so that was the trigger event that happened, and it went on, and I continued to talk about it and get this out there in little words. Take care, everybody. See you soon.